Hey, I don't want to say guys. I'd rather not say people either. Guys, because Alan Watts says in Cutting Through something about how guys is actually supposed to. Essentially, it's like the same term as that with an A instead of a U on some level. And then for people, it's like pea pull, as in these are the results of peas being pulled. It sounds very disgusting to me. And you might say, well, that's just insane. And I might say, look into what words are. Basically, look at what Mark Passio might call green language, and maybe you will see that it's not just people, it's almost all words actually, and even slang words. Often slang words are essentially just bad words used to stand in for good, and then maybe to invert your sense of goodness. Like, oh, that's sick, that's ill, that's he's a badass, he's bad. Michael Jackson released an album called Bad. Anyway. Oh, that's so good. It's so good. It's bad. It's so bad. It's good. And these would probably a lot be people working on the pain pleasure dichotomy, like I talked about, and the rats wouldn't eat it. Anyway, how about Alan Watts's folks? Folks to me, at least the people who have used folks, it sounds to me like another sort of controlling word, or at least it's used that way. Barack Obama it said folks a lot. Folks sounds like it's sort of something about it sounds vaguely kind of condescending and like, oh, aren't we all just normal folks? But we're not. But we are, or you are, and I'm not. I don't know. In any case, and I'm not saying me. I'm necessarily here. I'm saying um, anyone who uses the term folks a lot, not Alan Watt necessarily, but I'm just saying it often has come off to me as like, well, grr, like what the fuck, something about this basically has a bad smell to it. So maybe not folks. How about humans? I don't like either, because humans is something people started calling each other in like the cynical 2000s. Really, they sort of this biting humor of like, oh, haha, I'm not saying hey guys or hey whatever, I'm saying hey humans, as if I'm looking down at you from like some alien height. Whatever the term, hello. Actually, hello is not great either. It's a hell and then low. Hi people use, but hi always sounded kind of, I don't know. Hi sounds a little cold to me. Like it's such a short word, and it's just like hi. It sounds so clipped off or something. It's like the woman from The Weakest Link saying, "You are the weakest link. Goodbye." Except it's hi. But then, as James True points out, if I were to say good morning, it's like, well, what are you mourning? Like there's, I kid you not, man. It's almost every fucking word. It's got like these hilariously like dark undertones or like double meanings, or like some words, they'll even tell you a lot about the concept. Like, for example, one of my favorite is honest. And I think that's great because H, you know what? I could look in the Alan Watt book right now. I'll pull it over. But it's H and then it's on, and on is a term for the sun god or for God, etc. It's an old term for God, apparently, according to Alan Watt, at least. You could look it up. And so by the way, the light switch is amazing. It's on and then off, and the gematria of O, F, and F are each 6. So it's on, like representing God for turning the light on and let there be light, etc. On, every time you turn on a light, you're turning on a light, you're turning God a light. And then every time you turn it off, you're turning it 666. That's pretty amazing to me. There are so many fucking hidden things. Look at the clock. It's 60 seconds, 60 minutes, and then it's 12 hours on the clock, but each day the clock goes around twice. So that is 12 plus 12, and that's 1 plus 2 and 1 plus 2 to break down those numbers. So it's another 6. So it's 6 plus 0 for 60 minutes, 6 plus 0 for 60 seconds, and then well, 24 hours, and that's 2 plus 4 equals 6. You could just say 24 hours in general, or 12 hours, but then times 2, and that would be 6. 666 on the clock, you guys. Right there, right in front of your fucking face your whole life, and that's been the thing you've been looking at in agony. How about that, right? How about it? You know, but anyway, I think I would like to dress as Big Boss for Halloween. Now, I'm not sure if I want to dress as Big Boss or V. And there are Metal Gear Solid spoilers going on, so in fact, I kind of already dropped a gigantic one if you like think about it for a second, but if you don't know what it is. But there are, oh, honest. Well, let's go back to that before I ruin Metal Gear Solid for anyone, even more than I probably have just by like literally telling you that. But okay, so let's go to Alan Watt. Honest is one of my favorite words because not only is it about like being honest and truthful and stuff, it's also about, well, here we go. So it's H, and we're gonna look up H here and see what like Watt says that might generally refer to. And then it is on, so it's God. But then here's the thing: it's on, H on, and then ist. As in, if you look at it in a certain way, anyway, you are the godliest you can possibly be. It is the goddest. It is the honest. It is the most associated with God, most closely associated with God, most close with God. You are the honest. You are the honest. You're not honor. Honor is like, well, you have more honor. Like, well, I'm faster than you. I'm honor than you. No, I'm the fastest. And in this case, if you are truthful, then you are the honest. I love that. I really do. Man, I hope I can find the H. I hope I can find the letters thing here because I'm kind of not finding it, and it's sort of frustrating me. Or it is whatever. I feel frustrated. Alan Watt, come on, dude. Where is it? It's somewhere in here. I think. Oh, wait, did I just see it? I thought it was a left page. Maybe it's a right-hand page. This book is just full of miracles. I mean, not miracles. Well, it is a miracle. It's full of treasures. Great fucking book. But okay, whatever. Whatever H represents. I would like to be Big Boss for Halloween or V. Okay, so Metal Gear Solid spoilers going forward, and I mean spoilers for the last game in the Metal Gear Solid series, termed by many to be Metal Gear Solid 5. I would term it to be Metal Gear Solid V. But in any case, spoilers going forward. Maybe I'll call this video Metal Gear Solid spoilers. But anyway. Anyway, I would like to be either Big Boss or V for Halloween. Now you might ask, well, how is V different? V's different because he has the shit coming out of his head. He has like the horn, and that horn is like very satanic. By the way, Big Boss, I think he has the. You might see MGS3 or V footage on the screen anyway, or whatever. The fucking Ground Zeroes. But in any case, V and Big Boss, I think they both have an eye patch on their right eye. On their right eye, as in covering the right eye, as in what you see all the people in the pictures doing. Just look up covering right eye, or look up the ALTIYAN child's video about the plural child, about the Freemasonry in high places or whatever. Anyway, you see all the stars covering their right eye. Big Boss, I think, covers his right eye. And in any case, you have you have the horn, and the horn actually gets bigger if you do like more. Essentially, if you play more violently in the game, the horn will get bigger, and Big Boss also becomes sort of drenched in blood. And then, actually, it takes a while for him to not be drenched in blood again, and it takes a while for the horn to recede back down after you've had basically like some very non-Metal Gear Solid, like kind of Call of Duty more style killing sprees. It's like he will look like a monster, and he'll look like that for a while. But I'd love, you know what? Maybe fuck it. Maybe I'll play as. Maybe I'll. You know what? No, for me, I think it might be a little effing forward, especially for my job, and especially because I will be working on Halloween, or at least that's the day that I have scheduled. But I'd like to be Big Boss, but like the Big Boss that has been evil, the evil Big Boss. Or actually, and here's the thing, I'd like to be the evil V. You know why? Well, A, because it's a cool costume, especially for Halloween, where what he's like wearing this kind of military outfit, and he's drenched in blood, and he has like the bandana on, but then he also has the eye patch, and and particularly the horde. So, just like Big Boss is, I would say, a representation of Satan in the story, and then Solid Snake is a representation of essentially the Antichrist. I guess you might say that makes Liquid Snake like Jesus, but I don't think that would necessarily be the case. But basically, Big Boss comes down in MGS3, the first chronological game, I think in the entire series. I don't think they've done anything earlier than that, maybe. He comes down from on high from an airplane. He dives down in what's called a halo jump. Now, what's the story of Satan? The story of Satan, or at least Lucifer, if you differentiate the two, would be that there was a fallen angel situation, and he went down and he had a halo, or you might say he had a halo classically in the images because he would be an angel. He was the most beautiful angel apparently. He fell and it was a halo jump. He jumped down from being an angel. He was a fallen angel. He made a halo jump, and that's that's what Big Boss does. Like basically the first thing he effing does in the game, more or less, except for like kind of sitting on the plane and whatever. And then who's his boss called? His boss is called Major Zero ultimately. And Major Zero, as in the 0 point, as in like, you might say the Omega or the Alpha, and you might refer to that as God. So it's like God would be Major Zero perhaps, and apparently Major Zero is the big enemy in the game, so that the whole series, so that's interesting. And then Zero basically like casts. He tells him to jump out. Actually, he casts uh, Big Boss out in a halo jump, and then what's Big Boss's code name? It's Naked Snake, like the serpent in the garden. I mean, I kid you not. I think there's a whole bunch of shit. Not to mention he meets Adam. He's supposed to meet Adam, but he meets Eva instead in the jungle, as in the garden, and then he has like a relationship with Eva, etc. I'm telling you, and I did tell you Metal Gear Solid spoilers, but I'm telling you, man, Big Boss is Satan. Big Boss is Satan, and symbolically. And so in Metal Gear Solid V, you are creating Satan's army. Essentially, you are creating his forces here on Earth. And that is before he has, what is it called, guys? In the first Metal Gear game that came out ever, what's it called? You are infiltrating Outer Heaven. Outer Heaven, okay? Like the heaven after, the heaven that Satan made after, like the heaven he made for himself maybe after he was cast out of the real heaven. This is the outer heaven, right? If you want to call it a heaven. Because I think symbolically that works as well. And that was Big Boss's base, and you, as Solid Snake, go in to fight Big Boss. Essentially, it's like the Antichrist going in to kill the devil, except, of course, the devil, what? The devil survives. In any case, there's a lot going on in Metal Gear Solid. Yes, I think Big Boss... No, I think Big Boss essentially survived. Doesn't he survive to the end? Isn't like the last chronological thing in the whole series? Isn't it Big Boss approaching Solid Snake in the graveyard where Big Boss was supposed to have died? Or maybe it's Zero, as in, Satan may be dead, but the Omega Point is still alive, and now the Antichrist is the new Satan or something. I don't know. In any case, and of course, Satan's dying too, or Antichrist is dying too. Solid Snake is getting older, but you have, you have just a great Halloween costume. I mean, I think that would be super cool. And what I really like about it too is that aside from the satanic implications, which I don't, I'm not a Satanist. I don't think the dark forces are good. Satan might be termed the father of lies, or he might have been called it. I do not like. I think basically dishonesty, I think, is the father of sin. I'd give you that. So I'm no fan of the devil, right? I'm no fan of evil. However, to whatever extent the devil may be real, etc. Maybe it is, maybe he is, whatever. But or it's just evil forces, like the force of evil. But I got to tell you, it seems like there's a real dark force cast over this fucking world. And what I'm saying here is that, nevertheless, I think on the other side, in sort of more of like a maybe a neutral Tony Robbins tools kind of way, where, as I said in the previous video, he might give you excellent or phenomenal tools, but they are indeed phenomenal. They're indeed working on this plane, and they are indeed not not necessarily having anything to do with truth or falsity, not necessarily having anything to do with being honest. Except Tony might emphasize like sort of clarity for yourself, so maybe honesty towards to yourself, but not to others. Perhaps I'm not saying Tony again. I'm not saying Tony Robbins is telling people to lie to people. However, in any case, I think this big boss outfit might just, I think it might be like the big dick swinging kind of thing to do. Like, I think it might be the perfect thing for me to do, because I'm going in there, I'm kind of emphasizing, like, yeah, you know what? I think people kind of see me as kind of a badass in a bad way, not even in like a sort of a good, like, I think they see me as like, no, not they, but I think there may be some people who have or have seen me as sort of like, oh, you know, I'm kind of uncomfortable around him because he has a felony for sending somebody emails. And so it's like, all right, fine. I committed a speech crime in a country with the First Amendment. Okay. No extortion, no anything. No, the government does that, and also they make sincere threats, whereas my emails were not sincere; they were blowing off steam. If they were sincere, then I think you would have found evidence that they were sincere, or that I would have like tried to do something. But no, I sent somebody emails. But I think walking in there wearing this V costume, and V especially, because I love the idea of V. I love the idea of MGS3, Metal Gear Solid V, where you are going in and you aren't Big Boss. Actually, you are a big boss, a guy who has been told, essentially he's been told he's Big Boss. I don't know if they like took out his memory. I don't know. Or maybe, I don't know. In any case, he's been told that he's Big Boss. And he's basically like cradled around by Big Boss's actual associates, who are basically kind of telling him what to do, but they're like advising him, which is a big truth drop as well. They're advising him what to do, but he's a total patsy. And yet it's this amazing story of this empowerment, because he is a total patsy, but he becomes like, I guess he becomes the perfect weapon for them. He becomes the perfect killing machine. And that, like that game and Ground Zeroes, I suppose, they have the most amazing controls. Like, I don't know if I've ever felt more in sync with the character in any video game ever than in MGS-V, in Metal Gear Solid V. And so I would look to that V costume as kind of a symbol or symbolic of perhaps my own taking the reins on my life. And taking the reins, like you take the reins of V in that. And essentially it's also kind of like an emphasis on unreal, no, not non-reality. Well, an emphasis on non-reality in the sense that like, well, essentially sort of like putting on sackcloth and ashes kind of thing. Like, essentially like, all right, yeah, or putting on your sackcloth anyway. Like, oh yeah, I am renouncing the world. I am becoming a renunciate. But I'm renouncing the idea that aside from being honest and being good, that this world has anything fucking for me. I might as well just be dressing up like this fucking caricature of a character in a video game, because you know what? I'm basically the same thing, and so are you, because anything that you do, it's all about being honest, and it's all about being good. The relative factors and the relative features and the relative faculties of what you are accomplishing and what you're getting, all of that is amoral.